Hello everyone, welcome back to Where Swans Walk. Tonight I'm joined with Rich and James. Apologies for last week, technical errors on my behalf. But this week, as you can see, the itinerary is going to be our Unsung Hero of September, game reactions for both games, Blackburn and Leicester, and the EFL refereeing standards. Are they great? Who's the best referee and what do we think? Right boys, we'll just jump straight into it. Who's the Unsung Hero of September for you both?
Galbraith for me, 100%. He's run the show, all the games. Fantastic player. What an addition, cheap price. And, world's the limit with him. I think he's getting better by the game.
Slightly different one for me is Zeidane Inoussa. I think we're finally seeing someone on the wing that offers something a little bit different, a bit more pace and power. Does look a little bit more composed now as the weeks have gone on. And hopefully in the weeks that will come now, you'll sort of offer up some more competition for Ronaldo. Yeah, I think Zidane's impressed me from every time I've watched him play.
Yeah, I agree. For me, it's either Galbraith or Vigouroux, to be honest. Made some cracking saves on Saturday and he's bailed us out many times. But either Galbraith or... I could stick with Galbraith because he's just absolutely running the show. What a player. And then moving on to Blackburn last week, before anything else. Blackburn, 2-1 win. What was our opinions on that? Deserved win?
I'll be controversial here. No. I think a draw was a fair result there. Both teams are absolutely atrocious. And I felt as if I'd been time warped back to 2021 and I was watching Mr. Stephen Cooper's football again. We just looked like we went up there to not lose. And it was not a good watch. I mean, I challenge anyone out there that can go back and say they watched that game again. And there's that sort of argument in the fan base. People going, oh, people are unhappy. Well, no, we're not unhappy that we won. It was the manner in which we did it. We went up there and we were very negative, I thought, in the game. And then it was only towards the end where Liam Cullen sort of pulls us out of the muck a little bit. Yeah. But I think a draw was a fair result there, if we're being really honest. But yeah, not a classic at all.
I think sometimes, if the games are so close in the league and, to get a win, some of the games we probably should have won. That one, perhaps, like you say, could have been a draw. Their pitch has been awful as well recently with all the rain from it as well. They're struggling. They're trying to fight a little bit. It kind of, all those kind of things brings the quality down. I think, we played okay. We had a few changes that made the difference, something we haven't had in recent times, been able to do that and just make things off the bench. And 3 points there got us right in a good position before the weekend. It's such a massive win to get away from home.
Yeah. I think it was one of those games where it was, again, as James said, very negative football and very backwards and a very, dog game, like one of those games that's not a classic match. It's not going to be talked about in 5 years' time. But it's a win. That's all that matters, is a win. And it's 3 points on the board. And that 3 points could make a difference at the end of the season for a playoff spot or pushing for promotion. And I'm in that category as if they're winning dirty and games like that, I have no complaints against it.
I think there's a couple of baffling decisions as well, like why we were playing Benson more in the centre when he's most at home as a right winger who's got a left foot that cuts in and shoots. And I just thought we absolutely wasted him. He looked absolutely lost in that game. So I don't know really what we were trying to get out of him in there. And it kind of showed him up a little bit as well. But yeah, I'm struggling to watch us at the moment. I think we're quite an atrocious watch, especially the last couple of games.
New signs as well. They're trying to find a place, and they, like you say, Benson as well is where's his home in our squad, in our side at the moment. He looks great as an individual. He looks as if he's got a bit of something about him, but where exactly is that going to be? So I think I'm not averse to sort of trying him out in different ways, and if they don't work, well, you got to kind of take it a bit on the chin a little bit if we can fit him in somewhere. Because I think he's a better player than some of the other ones we've got in the team on certain occasions, especially away from home. Like he says, you kind of need to create chances away from home, and he's someone who can open up doors for people.
Yeah. I think it's just one of those games where it wasn't memorable. It's not going to be memorable at all. Sheehan probably wanted to try a few things, like Benson down through the middle, but when we all know his best position is on that right-hand side. and that's where he is most effective. And probably Sheehan's probably going to realise now that moving forward, that's just going to leave him there. There's no point messing with that. And we may as well just touch upon Franco's finish for that goal.
Went bad, was it?
That's unreal.
Technique,
probably.
For that. Absolutely stunning technique. To get that finish, the kind of insight to do that, fantastic. And he just made it look so easy. That's half the thing,
Yeah, that looks. It just looked like he had all the time in the world to do it. Yes, perhaps my inner football coach coming out here, but the first thing I thought when I saw the goal is, why is he unmarked at the back post? That was my first thought. Is why has he got that much time at the back post? But that was an absolutely unreal finish. That was.
Yeah. He made it look so effortless as well, didn't he? Absolutely beautiful take. And then moving on to the weekend, a 3-1 loss to Leicester. We were on a high for playing negative football, getting 3 points, and then straight back down to reality against Leicester.
I think a big thing you got to look at Leicester is as well. They are a good side, and Sheehan came in on the weekend. He said we were looking a little bit jaded, like a little bit tired, and there's a few players not quite on it. And I think leaving out Galbraith then is a big thing. Obviously he's a mainstay in there, and it's a big call then to bring somebody else in. Franco, although he did score a great goal and play decent against Blackburn, has not been at his best this season by any means. And I think if you play in a few of them together in midfield, you're kind of a little bit negative as such. So that's a big problem we've got to sort out, really, is how do we get offensively without leaving ourselves open in midfield? So when you're playing Cullen, where you slot in those gaps, which we got overrun a little bit at times, I think, against Leicester, even though the goals they did score were worldies in all fairness. You can't really stop them without really closing down. I'm sure James will have a bit more to say about that, but it was one of those ones I think you just got to take that on the head as a good side on the day.
It was a weird one for me as well, because I thought Marko Stamenic looked almost scared on Saturday. And again, I don't like to dig out individual players, but I thought he looked like he didn't want the ball on times, which has been unusual because he has looked decent in the last few weeks. But I felt he was quite poor on Saturday. It's just a strange one in that midfield for me at the moment. Like Cullen was playing more as an 8, I thought, throughout the game, which I thought was very, very strange as well. But again, I just felt like we didn't know what we were going to do against them. We've got 2 or 3 sort of ways we try to build up, and if that doesn't work, we sort of all got the pot a little bit. Depending on the goals that you said, I personally, and people may say this is harsh, I think we can close them down quicker. I genuinely think there's an opportunity to close those shots down, because you don't allow players of that quality to cut in and shoot, especially not that side.
No, you said just before we recorded that was the main point from the game straight away, is that Jordan James shouldn't be getting that, cutting inside and that shot across. It was a beautiful goal, don't get me wrong, insane technique, but as you say, you should be closing down quicker than that. And that just goes down to the quality of their players as well, to be able to get that position for him to score. But also, I think they were there for the taking, really. They really were there for the taking. I think it just shows. I mean, I'm in that camp of the weekend that they're the Premier League side from last season, just come down. They've got a really good quality squad. And even if you get a draw against them, it's an amazing result. But they were there for the winning. We got an easy one.
Another thing I want to touch on as well, just sort of get in my ear a little bit, is what's going on with Malcolm Waddell. Twice he's been omitted now from the matchday squad against Blackburn and Leicester, and Fulton's been on the bench. So like we're talking about needing something different in midfield. And I know Sheehan's probably come out and sort of try to justify leaving him out, but you've got a £3 million player who offers something completely different to what Franco, Stamenic, Yalkoué, and even Fulton offers, and he's not even getting in the matchday squad, which I think is a real concern. And like I said, if we're looking for someone who's a little bit more attacking, who could probably do the job of Galbraith as a 10, why isn't he in the squad? I just find it a very, very strange decision. And again, it comes back to, it seems that we've got this mentality of the minute of just don't lose games. We're not going out there and trying to kill games off. It's just don't lose. So I think that's, again, comes back into that enjoyment factor of we're not a really good watch. It does feel like we're just trying to sit back and hold on in games a lot of times.
I think as well, you got to think, what's the guy doing in training? You've got to be doing something that's not quite right in training if he's not getting picked. You know, is it his lack of physicality? Is he still settling in? Does he not communicate well with his teammates? Or there's got to be something, otherwise he would be in there. Like you say, Jay Fulton could be the best player in training ever and just doesn't turn up. He could be the classic that scenario on the day. It just doesn't happen for him. But we all know Jay Fulton has got a good work rate in him and he's experienced. But yes, Vidal has got a talent, a lot of talent. You can see that clearly. So it is a mystery, but it's one only Alan Sheehan can probably tell us. Do
you think that Sheehan's maybe waiting for him to bed into the squad better before bringing him to the matchday squad? But I'm also in that camp that you spend £3 million on a player, very expensive signing for the club. Just put him on the bench and get him minutes on the pitch. That's the only way he's going to get experience. The Championship is a very tough league, one of the toughest in Europe.
Yeah, he's been here since the summer. Obviously, you got Zeidane Inoussa who's come from the same league, and he's sort of bedded in fine as well. But I'm just thinking of which player is going to offer you more on the day. We kind of know what Fulton offers, and it's not a lot going forward. He's the kind of player you chuck on for 10 minutes at the end if you're trying to see out a 1-0 win. But if you're chasing the game and you want energy and you want a more attacking threat, I say Vidal gives you that over the likes of Yalkoué, Franco and Staminic. So he's giving you something different than none of those three players are offering at the moment. And this may sound a little bit cutthroat, but who's going to be longer? Fulton's contract's at the end of the season. I don't think beyond this season he stays with us. So ideally, would you not want him being in and around the matchday squad and getting minutes more than someone who's perhaps he could potentially go in January as well? So would you rather him be in and around the squad or someone who's in here on a 3 or 4 year contract?
I think it's a cautious nature as well. Though you've got to think that you need to have that defensive aspect. If you're winning the game and you're looking at your bench, you need to bring somebody on. Vidal isn't going to be that guy that's going to go and sit and win the ball back and defend. Whereas Fulton, you bring him on 5-10 minutes, like you say, try and close out the game. Although, looking at ourselves this season, we've been terrible at doing that. There's a lot of individual errors and bits and pieces that aren't quite working in those end periods of games. So these arguments for and against really on that one, I think.
Yeah. Do you think that the international break has come at the right time for the squad? Maybe just to, try new tactics out and train in for the next 2 weeks, week and a half, get prepared for Southampton in 2 weeks' time, see what goes from there?
I think so, to be honest. It's a really tough run we've got coming up at the moment, and our form's not been great. And like I said, we have been a tough watch. I think maybe just it's time to reset and try a couple of new things with the lads who aren't away in international duty. Might do us some good. But I do expect to see a marked improvement when we return again. We're coming to that sort of busy period of the season now. And I still feel like at the moment, I can't see what we're trying to do at the minute.
In a perfect world, that is what we want. You want that time to reset, but there's so many guys away. I think we were saying last week that he's only got so many players left, and the guys away from there are going to be there 3 days maybe max, and then you've got the likes of Burgess and that coming from Australia, New Zealand, and whatever. They're not going to be back to the day before the game, and there's always doubts then that these players aren't going to be even available for the match. So it's always a tough one, but you buy the players from foreign countries, you got to accept that, haven't you?
Yeah, it's a part and parcel. And another thing that we have accepted or unwillingly accepting are the refereeing standards in the EFL. Going back, cast your mind back 2 weeks ago, if Vupotnik scores a 1-0 goal against Millwall, we're all celebrating. Great, 1-0 up, 3 points on the board, and it gets ruled off for offside by a toenail. What is both of your opinions on the refereeing standards in the Championship? Should there be the fourth official or fifth official with VAR to bring that into the league to get more correct decisions, like for Potnick's goal? Or do you think it's sound the way it is and it's perfectly working fine?
Do you want to wrap first?
Yeah, I would say the semi-automated offsides, we need that, because that's just going to take any of the guessing game out of it. For me, that goal's still onside. And I would say if you were going to have VAR in the Championship, I would have it limited use, red cards and penalties only, nothing else. I'd have it for nothing else. Like we talk about the Vupotnik goal, we got away with one at Blackburn as well. I thought that was a penalty with Burgess. So it kind of balanced itself out a little bit there, but yeah, they're so inconsistent in the EFL. And I just think that maybe the semi-automated offsides and maybe VAR for penalties and red cards, and I think that would really take a lot of the issues people have with it out.
Yeah, but it just VAR frustrates me anyway. How you can even get anything wrong with VAR. I just can't believe it. But so I hate VAR for starters. But then you think we watched the games recently. Birmingham, we should have had something. Millwall, we should have had something. Yes, we got lucky with Blackburn, but that's wrong decision again. 3 games in a row. All decisions are wrong. The referees look scared to give decisions these days, and I think the ones you get in the Championship a lot are ones that have been punished for mistakes from the Premier League, and they come in and they don't know how to referee properly because they don't have to make any decisions. It's a farce, to be honest, like officiating these days, and I think standards have dropped. And I think there's not many of those refs I could come out and say, right, I like that referee because he's consistent. I used to say, probably so many years ago, I used to think, all right, we've got Michael Oliver, great, lovely. We know we're going to get a good game off him. You haven't got so-and-so who is completely useless and you never get a result. It's going to be completely against you all afternoon. Decisions will be poor. It's something has to be done, doesn't it? Surely.
Yeah, I agree on both. I especially agree with James. I'm not the biggest fan of VAR. I'm a big fan. I'm not the biggest fan. I'm a big fan of the technology, not the biggest fan of the people using it. I think they're using it wrong. And I'm a big fan of how, I think it was the Italian league or the French league, where they get 30 seconds to look at it. And if they can't decide in those 30 seconds, the on-pitch decision stands. That's why I think 30 seconds, done. If you can't get a decision in 30 seconds and draw a bunch of lines on an angle that makes no sense, that's not even parallel with the pitch, then it's completely wrong. And red cards, penalties, yellow cards, malicious intent, all perfectly fine. But other than that, just crack on.
You can tell that there's something really wrong here, because if you watch the Soccer Saturday panel, you watch Mike Dean every single time that the decision's made on the pitch, 99% of the time he agrees with it. So it's almost like they're just covering for each other as well. So like you said, I just don't agree with the people that are doing it. Like I know they have like another referee, say, man in the VAR. Why don't they just have like a foreign referee doing it? So they're not like protecting their mates. Like, and again, like I said, I know that may be just like my view on it. And, like it is, some of the interpretations can be subjective, but I would just say, why don't you get like an elite referee to do the VAR from another country potentially? Because I do feel like sometimes they just trying to like help their mates out a little bit and get them out of a sticky situation. But yeah, the people using the technology aren't great.
I always thought as well on the sidelines with the technology, why haven't we got ex-players getting involved? Do you really need to have a referee doing that? Can't you have somebody can you have the official and the player together?
That's a big thing, a big topic I'm a big fan for, is that a lot of referees now who are coming up through the ranks, a lot of young referees in their 20s and 30s, haven't really played the professional game or played the game well enough to know what a dangerous tackle is or just a normal tackle, etc. They're giving yellow cards out for just a normal standard tackle. So, and it shows that they haven't played the game. You see it all the time in the Championship, Premier League, League One, League Two, even abroad. You see it all the time. And they're seeing it as a career path now as refereeing, rather than like, oh, I can't be a professional footballer, I better do refereeing instead. They're just saying, well, I want to get into the game, let me do refereeing instead. But I think ex-professional footballers should be the referees, in my opinion, because they know the game. They've played it, they know the intent of the tackles, etc. And it'll improve the refereeing standards. Go back 10, 15 years ago, we weren't complaining. We all complained about the referee when everything didn't go our way, of course, but it wasn't as this bad. It's not every week. Every week there just seems another farce of VAR, either in the Premier League or, EFL, a Championship, a refereeing decision. And I'm honestly, it boils me. It boils me.
Rant over.
Rant over, right.
Yeah.
Right, with our rants over, boys, about refereeing standards, back to our alphabet about Swansea. What makes our club great? This week, 2 weeks ago, we had A. We missed out last week, unfortunately. But this week, we're on B. So, remember, it's a player. Surnames count. Surnames count, not just first names. Could be a stadium, ex-manager, sponsorship, etc. Anything. Even a kit manufacturer. Who cares? What makes our club great? Rich, start with you.
Start with me straight away. I always struggle with these straight off the cuff. All I can think of in my head is when I was growing up, Matthew Bound. I used to like Matthew Bound. He was a great player. B.
Well, Matthew Bound works.
Matthew Bound was great.
Yeah, I was bound to happen, wasn't it?
Yeah. I always remember a funny story with that. I had years and years ago, you had these free T-shirts, and they give them out with a season ticket, and I took it into the Swansea market to have Matthew Bound on my back, and my surname's Bond, right? So I wanted Bond on rather than Bound or whatever, and it was the year where Tony Petty and all the horrible stuff happened, and I come back after the game and asked the woman, "Then can I have my T-shirt?" There we go. She goes, "Oh, you made a bit of a mistake on this one. His name's not Bond, it's Bound." So she had that Bound number 6 on the back, gave it to me, left the next day.
Oh, Tinker.
Wouldn't wear the top ever again. One for the edit, that.
That's one for the edit. So with B, we got Rich's Bound story, sorry, not Bond. James.
Now, this is really weird that you mentioned kits, though, Rich, because I've got like a sort of a personal story as well. Was my B is Begoni, so going right back to like the early 2000s, around about that time as well. And the reason for it is my dad used to go up to the inn Llansamlet where Begoni was, and it was at the time when Alan Curtis was working in there. And like my dad had this Ford Focus with a big Swans emblem on the back windscreen. Alan Curtis come out, seen it, started talking to my dad for ages. Went inside with him, he was showing him all the kits and stuff they had there. And I remember my dad coming home that day just with a bag full of, like, remember the old Remax shirts, the white one, and then you had the one with all the names on it. I basically just gave us like all the shirts and the shorts and socks for nothing. So a big shout out to Alan Curtis for that. Made my day, made 10-year-old James's day with that one. So yeah, Begoni. I think I've still got those kits here somewhere. So that's my it's my personal story for the Begoni kits.
What a little dancer Curtis is. I've met him a few times and he's an absolute gentle bloke.
Yeah.
You mention anything Swansea, his head just turns and he's just chatting to you about Swansea. You don't even have to ask him a question, he's just talking to you.
Yeah. Yeah, like my dad said he was talking to him for absolutely ages, and literally all because my dad had this massive like sticker of like the swan on the back of his Ford Focus, like, you know. So yeah, I won't hear any slander towards Alan Curtis at all, like, you know. So I have to try and dig those kits out or something. I'm sure I've still got them in a proper throwback build, you know.
We'll have to do like a retro weekend.
They definitely won't fit anymore. I was gonna say they definitely won't fit anymore, so do not ask me to pop them on.
Well, we will. Put one on your arm, and I'll do. Mine's not as great as you two's. Mine's just gonna have to be Burgess for that goal against Forest. I still haven't got over it at all. So obviously my story's not as great as both of yours. It's actually quite lackluster in comparison. But yeah, well, that's the end of the recording, I believe, boys. Thank you very much for tonight, guys. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. We're trying to reach 50 subscribers on the channel. If you could hit that subscribe button, that'd be absolutely brilliant to help us out. Rich and James, thank you very much for tonight, and we'll see you next week. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Cheers, lads.